Welcome to the Property Talk, where we make sense of the real estate industry. My name is Christabell. I am your host, and on set with me is Mr. Wilberforce. As usual, our resident real estate guide, the one we look towards, the one we look for when we want to know where we are headed when it comes to Uganda's real estate. Mr. Wilberforce, it's a pleasure having you on set.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to share with Ugandans about real estate.
Where we are filming from, this is a property that is magnificent. You have seen this property before. Walking through this property was epic. We'll talk about this property later in the show. But I'm sure even you, when you watched it, you said, what is this Christabell is showing us? I'm sure even you loved it. Yes. Let's get into the show. What is the scope of Uganda's real estate 2025? What should we look forward to? What should we know that this is going to be hard, this is going to be easy, this is the time to invest, this is not a time to invest?
2025 going to be a real estate year, if I can say. I used most of the part of the festive season to drive around Kampala, but also in other areas close to Kampala, but also did some upcountry visits as well, just to look at the state of real estate. And I can say that what you see vividly when you drive around is the rate of real estate developments, properties that are going up, and that shows you a very positive sign to what we expect in 2025. We already see a demand for a lot of real estate on this market, and now it's cutting across all the different typologies of real estate. We are seeing an increase in demand for residential real estate, commercial real estate, office spaces, retail spaces, recreational spaces, and this is cutting across Kampala, Greater Kampala metropolitan area, and even upcountry districts. You can see that the need for this real estate is there, and I know that many developers are also taking this advantage to do as many developments as they can because the demand is there and the returns are really good right now in Uganda.
Would you advise someone that this is the right time to invest in Uganda when it comes to our real estate market?
I must say real estate has always been, is, and will always be, because we have a very sprouting population growth. We see that we have population increasing day by day, but we also have a very huge number of youth population, over 70%. So there's need for housing in this country. And the amount of real estate and housing that we produce every year cannot even meet 30% of the demand that we have on the market right now. And this is cutting across the low end, the mid-level, and the high-end real estate. There's demand for every sector of real estate. For example, when you go to the most high-end areas like Kololo, you see that most of those areas you see that many developers are putting up condominium apartments for sale. And I must tell you, as agents, we visited many of these, and you find that there's a block of 48 apartments that are fully sold off plan. And then you visit another one, half of it is sold off plan, and then another and another. And this is the most high-end area. That shows you that the demand is indeed there.
Yes.
But also when you go to the mid-level areas, still the developments there are booked off plan. Even if they are rental units, you find that at 80% completion, tenants are already depositing to take up those units. So it shows you that the rate of take up and return is really huge.
Really huge.
Office space, the same. We've seen a return of economic activity. Many companies are either looking for new space or expanding their previous spaces. Same applies to the retail market. People are looking for neighborhood malls and shopping centers nearer to their homes. So whoever is putting up nearby malls and shopping centers and shops near the neighborhoods of residences, you see that they are really having demand for the real estate products they are putting on market.
Now, let's get back to this property. You got to have the chance to tour this property last week. You saw this property, you appreciated this property, you understood the detail of this property. What I'd like to ask Wilbur, why have Ugandans moved away from such kinds of construction to the modern day construction? I understand when you say condominium construction, that is different.
Yes.
But I'm saying the people that are building independent homes, standalone homes,
Yes.
why have they run away from such kind of construction?
I think it's the exposure or the lack of it. I must say, when you look at such a property, you can see a mix of vernacular architecture, the old kind of architecture, mixed with the contemporary kind of finishes, and that is beautiful. It's excellent. Like I told you, there's a market that still appreciates contemporary architecture, nature blended into modernity. My advice would be for modern designers and developers is to mix both. You mix a contemporary architecture but finish it with a modern finish, a modern look, nature, trees, recreation areas, walking spaces and all. It makes the property more livable, but it appeals to a wider audience because we've seen now the market requires both, a mix of both. Contemporary, I want to feel I have spacious compounds and balconies and trees. I want to sit out and breathe fresh air. And yet, even when I come in, I have the modern finishes in terms of floors, walls, windows, But also, when you look at the architecture we had back then, like for this very property, the kind of wide windows and then letting in lighting and then aeration, and then larger corridors, larger balconies, larger rooms. I think there's still a market that appreciates that. And I believe that any developer who still does that has a market to serve. But why I would say uh, modern developments now look more at density. And I think, to be fair enough, Christabell, with the population growth, we may not be able to do so many bungalows and single standing family homes versus going up and minding the density of how many units I can put on size
scale
of land.
Yeah.
So you see that we need to maximize size, number one, to meet the housing deficit, but number two, to maximize the return on investment on what I can get from my land. That's why we are doing more smaller units, but more in number to take up many people on the same piece of land. But otherwise, both typologies of real estate have a market that they serve.
Ugandans have learned, I don't know if it's an art, if it is a drug, if it is a curse, of not having any green around them, nothing whatsoever. Oli wagule taka. It's like I've told them, maximize, pave everywhere, tile everywhere, cement everywhere. What is causing that?
Like I said, the need for a higher return on investment, every square foot, every decimal matters.
But yes,
matters in
Wilbur,
terms of
high
return.
return on investment, yes. So at what cost?
Well, it is coming at a cost whenever you look at density, but I think there's still a chance in terms of design. I think it begins with design. As architects and developers, they need to incorporate eco-friendly designs into all the projects that they do. Starting with the simple things, you can still maintain the big windows, the big doors to allow in lighting and aeration. That's number one. But whichever size of land, you can still incorporate green spaces within the projects that you do, or provide for planters along the balconies, the walkways, the sides of the property.
How are we doing when it comes to the buyer's market as opposed to the seller's market versus the seller's market?
Yeah, definitely. In some areas, it is varying depending on the segment that you're serving. I think for the high-end properties, it is more a buyer's market because there are more luxury and high-end properties on the market than actually the people who can afford them. Like I said at the start of the show, yes, we have so much real estate coming on the market, but it's not as affordable. Not so many Ugandans are able to afford the real estate that is coming on the market. So we find that in some of those areas, yes, the products have come on the market by how affordable are they? I think the high end are really high end that are deterrent for an average Ugandan to purchase, but also even those that are falling within the range of a Ugandan, they are not as many, but also when they are there, still the affordability is limited. So we still have a gap in affordable houses on this market. If there's any developer out there, there's a huge opportunity in the affordable housing segment. There are many Ugandans who can afford to pay over longer periods of time and a more affordable, decent housing.
It's always a pleasure having Mr. Wilberforce on set with us because he enlightens us. He takes us to school, when it comes to real estate. We go back into that course study when it comes to real estate. What are your parting words to the audience?
I've seen so many people do the wrong real estate, and I've seen so many people do the right real estate and benefit from it. My advice to you, please consult an expert before you embark on any real estate project. Do a feasibility study, understand the market, get your location right, and of course, talk to us. We'll advise you on how best to invest and find returns in real estate. Thank you so much.
Uba, it was a pleasure having you on set. Thank you so much.
Thank you.